Yo, we are back in After Effects, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to create this mixed media paper cutout effect 100% digitally using After Effects and Photoshop. So here, as you can see in my timeline, I have this clip from a Molly Santana music video. So to start off, we're gonna take bunch of pictures from our video so we can bring them at Photoshop and edit them at Photoshop. First pick will be the first frame, so go to the first frame and hit Ctrl-Alt-S in your keyboard, and it should bring up this file explorer. Just locate where you want to save the picture. So after you locate, make sure you create a new folder and name them pics and open that, and I'm just gonna name it 1 and save it right there. Then it should bring up you on the render queue. So firstly, let's just go to output model and set the format to JPEG and hit OK and just render it. After that one frame is done, go back to your footage and hitting paste down on the keyboard, you can move 3 frames and take another snapshot from here like that, and you can just set it to JPEG and just name it to and just render it. So I'm gonna just repeat this process until I have a bunch of pictures to add effects on. So after that, you can see I taken like 10 snapshots. If I show you like this, you can see all of these images. That's exactly what we want. So now we're gonna fire Photoshop and start editing all of those. After you open up your Photoshop, open up your file explorer and just drag and drop your first image onto the Photoshop, and it should create a new project file right here, you can see. So firstly, it will be set as background. To turn it into a layer, you just gotta go over to here and you'll see a icon. It's like a lock icon. Just unlock it and it should turn into a layer. After this, we're gonna select out our subject. For that, I'm gonna use this simple button right here, which is on the new update. If you don't have the updated version, you just gotta like use the pen tool or like this tool right here. It's called quick selection tool. You can use this, and you can also use this to fix your selection as well. Like hit Alt to remove, and you can just fix your selection right here like this. Always remember, your selection doesn't have to be perfect because it looks really cool when it's like rough. So I'm gonna make the edges bleed a little bit more, like something like that. After you're done selecting, go over to here in the corner and you will see a marks. Just hit that and it should create a new marks right there. That's exactly what we want. Now in this marks, I'm gonna duplicate this and delete the marks from the bottom layer, so our background and our subject is separated like that. So now to add those paper texture, I like to use my boy brand ultimate texture bundle. It's completely dope, comes with a lot of texture for you to use in the music videos. Extremely high quality. I'll be using V2. So let's just open up the pack right here. As you can see, this is the pack right here. It comes with paper texture, rips and tapes. If you want to download this, I'll link it in the description. It's completely dope if you want to make those mixed media type of effects. You can also use my code ASIM to get $5 off, and when you buy with my link or my code, I get a little cutback, which helps me to make more videos like this. So I really appreciate it as well. But anyways, firstly I'm gonna drag in a paper texture. So paper texture and maybe a simple texture like texture 7. I'm gonna drag this on here, rotate this because it's vertical, and scale it up right there. And the thing you can already notice is these are extremely high quality. As you can see, if I zoom into here, no pixelation at all. You can see it's really dope. So I'm gonna put this texture before my marks and turn the blending mode to screen, and you can just hit Ctrl-L in your keyboard to bring up the levels on it and play with the levels a bit, so it's a bit darker, something like that. And to add the texture on my subject, I'm gonna use the rips and fold. So rips and fold V2, and in here you can just pick whatever you like. Let's just go with black rip 16 right there. And now to clip it to our subject, we're just gonna right click, and here you can see an option called create clipping marks. Just hit that and it should clip it out like this. After that, you can just play with the blending modes of this as well. So something like color does with it. Looks hard, I guess. Yeah. Now I'm gonna set it to screen and bring up the levels on this as well, and lower down the midtones and bring up the highlights. So now you can see there's like 2 different texture. On my background clip it's a different texture, and in my subject it's a different texture. That's exactly what we want. And another thing I like to do is select my marks on my subject and scroll down. You can see an option go to select and mask, just click there, and it should bring up this new panel, new properties. I'm gonna bring up the shift phase in here, bring up the contrast and the feather. So as you can see now, it like shifting edges, which makes it feel more like a cutout. So I really like this one. So something like there, and you can just hit OK after that. And to separate it more, I like to add a unique color into this. So again, selecting your subject layer, we're gonna go to here. You can see our option right here, which is the adjustment one, and go here and create a solid, and I'm gonna color it something like orange, something like that, and lower down the opacity to 4 or 5%. Then just set the blending mode to whatever you like. You can go with overlay. Let's just go with overlay and just bring up the percentage. That looks solid right now. And also in your background, you can add like a black solid or black solid and lower down the opacity of it, so it's a bit darker, helps our subject to pop off more, like something like that. Then after this, I like to add a drop shadow onto my subject as well. So go over to here on the drop shadow and enable that, and you can just play with the properties of it. Then you can just hit OK to go back. Then after that, selecting my background clip again. After the solid, I'm gonna create an adjustment layer and take my brush tool, and make sure you are selected on the brush which has a bit of texture. If you don't have these type of brushes, you can just download it from the internet. There's a lot of free brushes out there, so you can just scroll through and download one of those. But in here with the brush, I'm gonna set the color to red and draw some simple patterns on here. You can just click it and make some pattern, like something like that. Make sure your flow is pretty low, to something like 35, and then set the blending mode to overlay on that. So after this, you can see it looks really dope. I really love it. And also before my background layer, which is this one, I like to add a hue and saturation and lower down the saturation to 0, so our subject pops in more. Then after that, just go to export and export as. Make sure the format is JPEG and just export it wherever you like. I'm gonna make a new folder in here called edited and just save it right here and name it 1 and save it right here. After you make the first one, it's pretty easy to make others one too, because we're gonna use this as a basic template. So first, selecting your mask layer, make sure you import your another frame on here right here. It should be right there. That's completely fine. So like we did in the beginning with this, I'm gonna just subject select this as well. So select subject. That's a pretty good mask right there, so I'm gonna make a mask of it, and we're gonna turn off the background for now. And I'm gonna also turn off my first image, so it's only there, and go over to select and mask. Repeat the same stuff on here. Bring up the contrast, bring up the feather, hit the shift edge, something like that. Then hit OK and just hit Ctrl+J to duplicate your layer. And you know, first layer, just delete the marks from it and just put it at the last in the background like that. You can leave it right here and export, but I like to create a new layer of the pens. Make like a new pattern right here. Simple pattern like this. Set the blending mode to overlay, and then you can also switch out the texture of these. So from the riffs and fold, I'm gonna use something like this on here. Damn, this texture is hard, but I'm just gonna put it right here and just clip it, just clicking with Alt, and just switch the blending mode of this as well. I'll need the levels, and also switch out the texture on the background too. So another texture on here from the paper textures. On this time, let's just go with this paper 30, and you can just scale it up like that. Switch the blending mode as well, or levels. So I'm gonna export this as well and do the same for all of my pictures which I exported from After Effects, and see you after that. So now, as you can see, I photoshopped all of my images and import all of my image into here. Let it import and put it in my timeline right there. After this, I'm gonna use a page down key to go 2 frames. So 1, 2, and just trim it right here and just displace the time so it's like lines up perfectly. Now you can see the end remains here because I was lazy to do the whole clip. Get the idea, right? But I think removing 2 frames in the beginning would look cool like that. Yeah, that looks hard, bro. Now we're gonna add some sauce into this. So first we're gonna add the transition. For that, you can use any type of overlay, but I'm specifically gonna use my GRUNGE FX and its overlays. So from the GRUNGE add-on, I'm gonna use the GRUNGE wipes. So let's just open it up and let's just drag wipe 2 first. like there. Lower down the size, and you can just set the blending mode to color dodge or something like that. Too long for me, so let's just raise the time to 20. Maybe that's too fast. You can set it to something like 40 like there, and you can just mess with the blending modes now. That looks pretty fire right there. And another transition at the end, speed it up as well, make it to 30. Now we can see it looks so cool. Grunge FX really has crazy effects for you to use on your videos, so I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. But anyways, now I'm gonna select all of my images and pre-comp it. After that, in the pre-comp you can add like a optic compensation and bring up the amount of it, like something like that. Also you can add like a flicker, and with it you can add like a sapphire grain if you have. Lower down the color amplitude, bring up the black and white, and lower down the frequency. You can even add like a effect called hotspot, sapphire hotspot on it. Bring up the threshold at first, go a bit further, and bring it up as it goes. And lastly, to top it all off, I'm gonna add a RSMB, and I like to also add like a glow and bring up the radius of it. Lower down the intensity a bit, and lower down the intensity a bit, and put it before my grain, so we have like this dope glow going on. You can even put it before your grain if you like. And lastly, RSMB to finish it off. So RSMB, put the amount to 0.1 and put it before the optic compensation. So anyways, my final effect looks something like this. So yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to our channel as well. So yeah, see you in the next video. Peace.